Okay, let's just jump straight into it. We're going to talk about a huge shift in how our world works. For, well, centuries, pretty much everything was built like a pyramid. Rigid, top-down, super predictable. But that whole way of thinking, it's all starting to change. We're moving from that old pyramid to something totally different. The network. So the author of the material we're looking at, Yaakov Hecht, he almost started his book with, the most cliché opening in the world, in a rapidly changing world. And he kind of points out that this feeling is so common now, it's almost meaningless. But it also makes you ask a much bigger question, right? If we all feel this way, what is actually changing under the surface? And maybe more importantly, what are we supposed to do about it? So the main idea we're going to explore here isn't just change. It's something way bigger. We're not just dealing with a few ripples in the water anymore. We are facing these massive recurring waves of innovation that are just completely reshaping the entire landscape. So the real challenge becomes, how do you learn to surf these waves instead of just getting swept away by them? And we're not talking about small shifts here. The term used is disruptive innovation tsunamis. Just think about it. You have all these separate technologies like AI, biotech, you name it, and they're suddenly crashing together to create these revolutionary changes out of nowhere. And these waves, they bring absolutely huge opportunities for sure, but they also bring huge risks, putting a kind of power into the hands of individuals that we've never really seen before. Okay, to really get what's happening, we have to zoom out and look at a bigger concept, the mega paradigm. Think of it like the entire operating system for society. It's the deep, underlying code that shapes everything from our schools to our governments to our businesses. And what's so wild is that right now, we are living through a historic clash between two of these massive competing systems. All right, so first, let's talk about the old model. This is the one that's really cracking under the pressure of all these tsunamis. This is what we're calling the pyramid paradigm. It's that classic hierarchical system that, was actually incredibly effective for the industrial age. But for the world we live in now, it's just not cutting it anymore. So at the very heart of this pyramid structure, you have what's called the pyramid cell, and its job is super simple. Get information from the person above you and pass it down to the person below you. That's it. No questions, no changes, no adding your own unique flavor. Think of a soldier who just follows orders without question, or maybe a teacher who's told to just read directly from a textbook. Your role is to be a conduit, not a creator. And as you can probably guess, this kind of structure leads to some pretty serious problems. First, your rank, your position on the ladder, it matters way more than your actual skill. All the ideas, they only flow one way, from the top down. And this is where you get the famous Peter Principle, right? Where people get promoted right up to the level where they're actually incompetent, and then they just get stuck there. The whole system really runs on fear. And maybe worst of all, it's fundamentally incapable of admitting when it's made a mistake. Okay, but here's the good news. There's another way. A new model is rising up to meet this challenge head-on. And this is kind of the hero of our story. The flexible, the adaptive, and the incredibly powerful network paradigm. And this slide, wow, it really lays it all out, doesn't it? It shows the two worldviews in such stark contrast. On one side, you've got hierarchy and competition. On the other, you have collaboration and trust. When you boil it all down, it's really the difference between a rigid, lifeless machine and a dynamic, living, breathing organism. So, what's at the core of the network? It's the network cell. And unlike that empty vessel we talked about in the pyramid, this cell is a creation cell. It's meant to have its own unique color, its own specific talents, its own passions. Its purpose isn't just to pass on orders, it's to create new value and to connect with other unique cells to solve problems together. And this new way of working has some incredible strengths. For one, collaboration is the engine that makes everything go. The whole thing is designed as a learning organization. It's constantly learning, and it sees mistakes not as something to be punished, but as valuable data. Authority isn't hoarded at the top, it's handed out to the people actually doing the work, the people on the front lines. And often, there's this shared higher purpose, a concept called tikkun olam, which is this really powerful idea of working together to repair the world. All right, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But let's bring it down to earth. What does this actually look like in practice? Well, we can see the clash of these two paradigms playing out perfectly in one of the most pyramid-based systems that almost all of us have experienced, school. I mean, just look at this. The difference is like night and day. In the old pyramid school, learners are just passive consumers of information. But in a network school, they're active prosumers. They're producing knowledge just as much as they're consuming it. The whole structure of the room changes, from rows that are designed for separation to collaborative workspaces that are all about connection. The goal is no longer just to deliver the material, but to help every single student find and develop their own unique color. And how we test them changes too. It shifts from just memorizing facts to actually applying knowledge in the real world. And this, right here, this gets to the absolute heart of why all of this matters so much. In a world where you have infinite, constantly changing information at your fingertips, what you know is becoming way less important than your ability to learn. Seriously, the most valuable skill you can have is no longer having all the answers, but knowing how to find them, how to learn on your own and with others. So when we pull all this together, what's the ultimate human impact of this massive paradigm shift? Well, it's a fundamental change in what society is asking us to be as people. Just think about what each system is designed to create. The old pyramid was built to produce the robotic human, someone who would be a perfect, predictable cog in the industrial machine. But the network? The network cultivates the creative human, a collaborative problem solver, a vital, unique node in a living, evolving system. Look, this massive shift from the pyramid to the network, it isn't some far-off future theory. It's happening right now, all around us. It's the new reality we're all living in. So the final question isn't for some expert to answer, it's for you. In your own life, in your own work, are you still building pyramids, or have you started weaving networks?